Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here. Almost here. There I am. Inmendham and such. Okay, Google is evil, blah blah blah. It's all context, this whole idea of good and bad. Yes, it's a conversation attempting to get to some sort of rational arguments pointing at the subject of value and appreciating how badly human beings in general are doing that. And I would argue from, my personal perspective, most human beings are in the category of, molesting, murdering, raping monsters. No appreciation for how expensive their daily bread is, how much is paid by feeling machines for them to have the byproduct of that function, the biosphere and whatnot, and that it's just insanely expensive, and it's just really grotesque that human beings think they're worth it, that there's some function happening here on Earth that is worth all the pain and the torment and the death and horror. The horror. This video is sort of, okay, so this week's video, today's video, earlier today, it's about explaining and attempting to point out these easy to see kind of horrors. And I've used the analogy from Apocalypse Now. It's kind of a dated reference. Maybe not too many people have seen the movie nowadays. But some great scenes in it about, it's like a silver bullet that hit me in the head. It's these realizations that we can have about, how poignant things can be. I guess would be the right word. And there's also this, background of horror, and the use of the word even. And, it had an effect on me, okay? In terms of, it's always connected now to that word, is the mood and whatever you want, the atmospheres created in that movie, because it made it poignant, it made it visceral, it connected me to the idea of conceptual horror. Now you could argue that Freddy's Nightmare movies did that for me also, in a sense I couldn't even watch them, because it's like, why would I even want to ride this roller coaster? Why do I even want to imagine a human being in a glue trap? I remember that scene. That was it for me. That was the end of playing with the movie. Why would I even want to go there? I mean, it's, forget it. Yeah, it's like only a lunatic could watch this. You have to be out of your fucking mind. Okay, it's bad enough for somebody to even vaguely describe it in some kind of mechanical way, and you even imagine, and then I'm sort of showing a human bias, because this is an event that's happening, mice stuck in, mice, very alive little creatures, very conscious, very, blah, 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 blah. So lots of stuff happening, in 10 minutes they live an hour's worth of my life. Go, 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 go. Little fast heartbeat, all of that. Yes, it should bother me just as much as the image of a human being trapped in a glue trap, but I'm just saying it doesn't. It's a practical matter, but I understand that it should. And that understanding is what I'm attempting to argue as kind of the keys to this whole thing of being a human being and being able to unlock the potential of our brain to actually deal with the reality rather than all the fables and bullshit we preach to each other. well, they preach to themselves, because yes, I've never been convinced by that preaching. But anyway, so somehow this video that I made is on that subject, but it deals more with the direct point that there's these keys, these key words, and that's all there are. And the keys can be made out of keys, and there's key things to understand about key concepts. Like if you want to understand that we are robots, you understand the key of evolution, you understand the key of machine, you understand the key word of mechanism. These different words, okay, that'll make it easier for you to, get it, and understand why it's true, and then understand what the implications of it being true. And frankly, that's what all these videos, all these years have been. It's just my attempt to provide keys to these concepts that make it understandable. And the key concept, the highest concept, is the understanding that there is something at stake. There is value in this universe because we as sentient organisms exist in it. Or a sentient rabbit, or a sentient mouse, or whatever. A feeling organism exists in the universe that now has value because there's a welfare at risk. And there is a condition of it being in harm or not in harm. And that's a huge difference in the value of the universe. A universe that has suffering in it is not, okay, as good as one that doesn't. Yeah. Kind of a simple argument. Alright, so let's jump through the video as we do. Alright, let me just check the volume levels and see what we get. And in creating this channel in the beginning was to argue what I think are the important value subjects. So I started off with subjects that were kind of related to this idea of fairness. The idea that that's what we're seeking in terms. Shut up. So fairness. So I was just giving a context to how I started on YouTube, why and whatever. Sorry, I'm just a little distracted by that low volume. Everything appears to be okay on these settings, but yeah, a little irritating. Anyway, just have to do, as they say. So yes, yeah, it's just a conversation. You're trying to provide a complete enough explanation of how it works so somebody can use it. So it's like even if you're explaining a bow and arrow to somebody, you show them how it works, where the pressure points are, the things not to do so you don't get hit in the face, and then they can pick it up and they can use it. And so that's all somebody, I think, who's making a video trying to say something is trying to do, is try to explain. And I can only explain from my observations and my sampling of being alive, and these conclusions seem durable in the sense that I haven't, I'm not assuming you have my same sensibilities or my same vulnerabilities or my same sensitivity. And I'm just saying that, well, it doesn't change the argument that much, even if we do. The differences between us can't be that great. I'm sure, hitting your hand with a hammer is pretty much the same thing for you as it would be for me. Close enough that it really shouldn't be a problem for me to explain this. It shouldn't be like I'm explaining how to use a bow and arrow to somebody who doesn't have arms. I mean, obviously that would be a challenge. Alright. This shouldn't be a challenge. I mean, it obviously is, but it should be. You're believing something just so outrageously silly. Alright, so just pointing out the religious silliness. I mean, all these silly philosophical positions, all these silly scientific positions, they just keep making up all these wooey, I tend to want to argue if there's some reason they're doing it, like they want the world to be stupid. But even that doesn't work. It doesn't even work for the religious explanation, because frankly, the heavens sound so sterile and unpleasant. Why would I want to go there? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't sound like the kind of place where you go play pool in the, in the bar. I mean, all the things you might enjoy aren't things they do in heaven. A lot of things are forbidden. Even, orgies and all that kind. It's not described as a place you go to have fun. So why the hell would I be wanting to go there? It's just, so you almost think, why do they even want this story to be true? It's just such a bleak afterlife that, why the hell what do I want? What's my interest? Yuck. So it's hard to even understand what they're arguing for. Perpetual potato farming. I mean, that's the Jehovah Witness ideal. Is you just plant potatoes forever. And its randomness is so hot, you can't help but screw. Okay, so I was getting into a little bit of a science versus philosophy argument of just this idea of the determinism versus free will, and the fact is that people aren't arguing for an improved will or a superior will because they have to argue religion to do that. Somehow God gave you a default right answer, and somehow you're changing the default right answer into doing the wrong thing. Like somehow our selfish ambitions aren't the dominant default, and we have to actually come up with some better logic or reasoning to defeat what our selfishness says, and that has to be strong enough to defeat it. So the idea is it's just so backward, because obviously it's the informed will and the smart will and the educated will, and the will that's completely unnatural is the will that overcomes, not the native will. So it just doesn't make any sense, frankly, to be making an argument for, and then especially making an argument for random will, which would be just destroying everything you practiced, everything you learned, everything you acquired. Your better capacity is just defective. So you just made something defective by making it random. So it doesn't make any sense at all. So it's so illogical, and it's like, well, yeah, that's the foundation of the conversation. It's an irrational premise. Random will isn't of any value. Okay, which a lot of people do. So you could compare it in some respects. Whew, that's, let's see how much of that you can see. You can't see much of it, so it's okay. To say me running away from the fat man dilemma, small there, in the sense that
there it is there too.
Run to safety and not be an advocate,
dangerous.
not be a defender, not be a hero. And how much of a crime is that? I mean, you could argue that everybody in the trench, the grenade fall. Okay, so the classic grenade argument, and I put a little bit of different spins on it to try to figure out, this goes to the child trolley question. All these questions are all moral dilemmas. They're all ethical dilemmas, and the dilemma is that they're shitty choices, and that's sort of the nature of all the bad that happens in the world, are people making decisions badly between bad choices. So the person who is wrongly configured in terms of their desire, that is, they get off on watching somebody else suffer or something, well, they have to not get their gratification to spare somebody the harm they're going to cause. And so there's no win circumstance. There's just this idiot trying to find some, and they choose, as people most of the time do, is the selfish choice, the choice that's, in their own personal best interest. And that's the part that our intelligence allows us to escape, is figuring out that it's not just about me, it's about all the other players in the game. Okay, and so I've said so many times, it's not a single player game. Can't rationally play life as a single player game and be intelligent. And so that's a dissonance for me, because it seems a commitment, to have it and as a written statement is almost like a permanent quote. And it's like you don't want to allow the vagaries of poor verbiage. You said it the wrong way, you used the wrong word in the wrong place. So I was talking a little bit about just how difficult it is to write anything, or to put all this in some sort of order and arrange it all, because there's a lot of parts. There's keys to the key to the key to the key, and you have to go through all this process of explaining something that's a little more complicated than a bow and arrow. And I'm not very suited to it. Okay, the best procedure isn't the easiest procedure for me, and that's a liability I have to overcome, frankly. But haven't done it yet. But anyway, and the same thing exists in philosophy, in the sense that there's the philosophy in the sense that I would call anything philosophy that's dealing with the harder questions, which are the value questions. So anything, the efficiency of how much gasoline you're using, and how efficient your machine is, and how so you can get the idea. Just to so again, the first premise is the idea that you have to at least be conscious in enough, like I am, to recognize that there is in fact a cavern of difference between feeling good and feeling bad, value difference. And then the second step is just recognizing that that's happening for all the other sentient brains, that there's a big difference between them feeling good and them feeling bad. If you don't accept that premise, okay, you're a nihilist or whatever, you've decided there's no real value, there's little help for you, frankly. Because I can't see any logical foundation for that from your own personal experience. You certainly behave that way. It's driving you. You're completely controlled by it, and yet you say it's not a real concept. Come on. Of course it's a real concept. I don't know any of that crap. It's an insidious, psychotically indifferent to the very thing the whole point of philosophy is to do, which is to find goodness and maximize it. I don't know exactly what I was talking about there, but it might be, I don't know, it might be religion, it might be, I don't know. But obviously, yes, it's whatever. There's lots of impediments to people being able to take this scheming brain and just apply it to the world rather than themselves. And you really have to make that disconnect if you're going to do any good logic, because your self-interest is a mechanical self-interest. It's sort of a mechanical response to it's never a good day to die kind of thing. Unless you're in horrible pain, you're never going to say, hey, it's a good day to die. No, because there's always something to do. There's something that needs putting away. There's something that needs cleaning up. There's something that needs finishing. Chemistry goes the step further, where it makes little replicating machines. So I spent the second half of the video basically talking about the different plateaus in evolution, and that we really should understand that context of our creation to understand what we're capable of, and how we are actually functioning, because that's the mechanism that defines our function. We have these functions for evolutionary reasons. We can apply them to better causes than merely replication of a DNA molecule. That it really is just a lot of little processes, just little mechanical processes. So it all can be broken down. You have a good enough magnifying glass, you can just look at all the mechanical processes and just see wherever you look, they're just mechanical processes. So at the core, it's just machinery, and obviously it's just a lot of little machinery making one big machine. Blah, 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 blah. Greater efficiency, so we have better ability to process the oxygen, convert sugar into energy, Alright, so yeah, so then I'm just talking about the competition, the fact that the game is just to give it the capacity to do this replicating, cause the replicator to have defects, so you create change, and then you just watch what the little changes cause in the the competition crucible. You just throw the bits in and see what can pop out. But it's all decided by who the first two players are, so to speak. I mean, it's all deterministically going up a line, and you know, there's nothing magical. It's all just a step by step process that can be understood to be completely mechanical. Versions of a computer chip, we could do it out of lots of different things. Yes, it would have to be bigger. Okay, so we're sort of talking about neurons and brains, and that evolution didn't produce any other version where, you know, if we wanted to make a computer, we could actually make one out of sticks and stones. We can duplicate the process of on-off switches and all of that kind of crap, and we could make a synthetic that would do the same thing. Now, it's not going to do it as efficiently, it's not going to do it in the same small size, but we can make it do the same things, where evolution hasn't fallen on that duplication in all of the permutations and all of the mixing of this mush. It only came up with one neuron for the one that survives. You have to have a solution to that problem. You can't just say, well, nature says so, it's okay. Okay, so yeah, the bottom line is the people who make arguments, the desperately silly argument from nature that somehow because nature is cruel in insane proportions, that all we have to do is do a little tiny bit better and we're winners. That's a pathetically low standard of what our functionality is or what it should be, and it really isn't anywhere near an excuse for our, you know, to say we beat the retard in the race, to say we beat up the midget, to say we, you know, stepped on an ant. You know, I mean, it's just such an uneven, a silly standard. We really have to be able to do better than saying, oh, we're not quite as cruel as an entity that doesn't have a brain. I mean, you know, that's really insulting your intelligence to say that, oh yeah, I beat the thing that doesn't have a brain. Yeah. Pathetic. Alright, so I think that's about all that needs to be said. So I was concerned making the video that it's just going to be too much of a ramble, and I sort of pointed out that that's all, you know, for 20 years I'm either ranting or rambling, you know, because I don't script videos, and I don't, you know, I have more vague missions in terms of allowing my brain to spew, you know, to create a diagram, a model, and you know, that I need to, you know, it's probably past time that I tighten some of that rhetoric up into something more formal, a guidebook, something like that. Not an explicit script, but a diagram of the script in terms of a plot diagram. Yeah, that's probably a good explanation, right? You can explain a movie in 3 minutes, you know, just basically just, you know, plot, you know, born, live, die, you know, whatever, you know, and so I should at least be able to diagram the plot. The plot is to convince people that your brain should be used to find intelligent, correct answers to difficult questions regarding these the value landscape that we're stuck in, and what the best strategy is to maximize your capacity to create a better outcome, a better future. And that's what's really at stake, is the future. 5 seconds from now, 5 minutes from now, 5 hours from now, 5 days from now, 5 months, 5 years, 5 millennia. I mean, that's what's at stake. Alright, so good enough, I'd say. So I think it's a video worth watching, so go do that. Or listening to. You have that option and such. A little MP3 file is there, and whatever, blah 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 blah. Yeah, nothing new at the moment. You know, I might make some live videos No, on this channel. So we'll see. I might. I haven't decided yet. In some respects, it just invites a lot of distracting conversations that don't have anything to do with anything that matters, and probably just piss me off and be an irritant. So, but we'll see. Anyway, till the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. Yeah, that's really enough for a video. I keep thinking there's something else I'm supposed to reference, but can't think of it offhand, so we'll just let it go until the next time, I guess, and such. So, that was it's kind of rude, you know, it just slides away like that. Anyway, I have to slow that down a little. So, till the next time and such, and so forth, and whatnot. Blah, 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 blah.